continue to work on the incoming volume. So if you're out on Zoom and if you have a question, you can just throw it in the chat and we'll answer it for you that way until we get some volume restored here, because we have some people here that want to present. So I'll go through the roll call since the clerk is zooming in. So let's see, I'll just go down the list here. Alder Butler.
Here.
Caravello.
Here.
Hiley is online. Hirsch.
Here.
Jensen. Here. Legacki is online. Majewski, is he out there?
No, he's here. He's right there.
You're here. I didn't see you walk in. Welcome.
He is out there.
Peyton. Peyton's here.
He's online.
He's online. Thank you. Reeves is absent and excused. Sherlucky is here. And Schumacher is here. And Wozniak Scanlon is here. So we have a quorum, and we'll get going on the meeting. We are in compliance of the open meeting laws. There is nobody signed up for public comment. So we have a couple presentations we're going to do, and they're related to our action items. Dave, you want to introduce our guest?
With us, we've got Lisa Trebotowski from Ellers & Associates here to talk about the exciting bond issue 2023A.
Thank you. Good evening. So in your packet, you do have a pre-sale report that we went in detail at the Finance Committee earlier tonight. So I'm just going to give a brief summary of it. If you do have specific questions, I'd be happy to answer that. So the city is looking to issue $6,305,000 of general obligation corporate purpose bonds, and that is for your 2023 capital improvement projects. That includes streets, parks, library, fire equipment, and then there's a stormwater utility portion. The stormwater utility portion would pay its share of the debt service. All the others would be levied tax for. We are also on here doing a parameter sale. So what we're doing a parameter sale for is because you need to wait 30 days from tonight where you're authorizing us to move forward with the sale to when you can award the bid. That allows a petition period for electors to file a petition to make this go to referendum. So waiting that 30-day period, if we would wait even longer for the next meeting, it would delay the sale 2 weeks. So that, therefore, we're doing the parameter sale, and what you would do tonight is give the authority to the Director of Finance and Comptroller or the Mayor to accept and award the bid on October 31st. There are parameters set forth in the resolution. I can go over those. Otherwise, just note that we're making sure that we don't get any crazy bids. And we do have some special structuring of maturities, and that is in there for making sure that we are smoothly increasing the debt service levy for not only now, but then for projected future capital improvement projects that you would be borrowing for. So that is all I was going to go over, unless you have any specific questions.
Are there any initial questions from council members? And we'll have more conversation as we go through the resolutions. Okay. Can you hear us online yet? We think we might have it working.
We hear you.
All right. We are 100%. Thanks, Spencer. All right. So did you have any questions from anybody on Zoom? Okay, easy enough. Next presentation.
Thank you.
AJ, you want to introduce our guests?
Okay, I have a recommendation that we'd like to make tonight to switch our broker. We currently have Cottingham and Butler as our broker on record. Approximately 8 to 9 years ago, just so everybody's aware, we were working with Tricor, and at that point we switched over to Cottingham and Butler. You probably have a familiar face here. Damien was with the Cottingham and Butler team at that time and has since left and moved over to USI. And we are asking to make the change tonight over to USI. They'll explain to you why, and we can talk more when we get to the resolution. So with no further ado, I have both Damian Simmons and Christian Larson here to walk you through what USI can bring to the city.
Thanks, AJ. As she said, I've worked with the city before. I'm familiar with the culture that has been put in place for the employees, and we'd like to allow the city to continue that out into the future. And so that's why we approached AJ about this opportunity. So USI and who we are, if you want to flip to the next page, we are one of the largest privately held brokers in the United States. But our roots in Wisconsin are very strong. So about 3 years ago, USI entered the Wisconsin market through the acquisition of Associated Bank's insurance arm. So Associated Bank is obviously well known within the state of Wisconsin, and we have a strong foundation here and have a large portion of our business that is in the public sector, which includes cities, towns, counties, and also school districts. We're excited about the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the resources that we have here at USI, and I will let Christian, the lead consultant, speak to that.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, so what we wanted to do tonight was take you through just a brief summary of kind of some of the resources that we think we can bring to the table that you might not currently be getting, as well as just to talk a little bit about some of the solutions that we have in mind for how we can improve the benefits plan for the City of Stoughton employees. So this first slide here, really, Damien had talked about we are a national brokerage with a large population of employees, and what that brings to the table is nationwide negotiating power, relationships with the carriers that we utilize that allow us to sometimes get things done from a rate perspective or negotiation standpoint that may otherwise not get done. Where we differentiate ourselves from some of those other national brokerages is we really focus on having a local feel. So we have, we're a large company, but we have 220 offices nationwide, and that includes 2 in Wisconsin and then a ton of work from home employees around the Madison area as well. So part of that is the network that we bring. This slide really highlights the local professional and subject matter resources that we have. So as you can see here, I would be the lead consultant here. We would have a dedicated local team that would include account manager as well as an in-office service person. We have underwriting team that we employ that negotiates with the carriers on our behalf. Excuse me. Local compliance experts in Cat Lacey Wilson. Wellness consultants for any wellness programs or changes that need to be made on that front. Communication consultants, so how do we get the message out to employees about anything that may change with their benefit plan. Pharmacy consultants, negotiating with those carriers. Claims experts in our Benefit Resource Center, which is something I'm going to talk a little bit about in one of our slides. And then our HR technology consultant for any of AJ's technology needs. And then as well as Damien, our local practice leader. Any questions on kind of that local network? No? So next slide, I had mentioned I wanted to get into what this Benefit Resource Center is. And this is a great resource that we have available to all of our clients that is a team that we employ. It's a call center essentially where employees can call in with any questions about their plan. So whether that is, locating a doctor, locating service, or things like, hey, I received a bill that doesn't make sense. I'm being billed for something I didn't expect, or the carrier saying I didn't have prior authorization and this is a lot higher than what I would expect it to be. They can essentially reach out to this Benefit Resource Center, whether it's through email or phone call, and they will resolve those items for them on their behalf. In addition, if they go to AJ with those issues, she can also utilize the service on behalf of the employees, really taking some of that work off of her plate. Any questions there? One other thing I should say is that a nice thing is that it's HIPAA certified, so if there are questions that are touchy or things that people don't want to bring to a local team member, this is a resource they can utilize, as well as there is reporting that comes out of this. So if there's something that we see time and time again people are asking about, we can make sure that we're including that in our education of employees moving forward. Next slide. Yep. Kind of hand in hand with the Benefit Resource Center is our mobile app that we offer to employees. So this is built out specifically for City of Stoughton's benefit plans. It would house information on whether it's medical, dental, whatever it may be, how to contact those carriers, and the different resources they have available, as well as around enrollment time, it has the capability to push out things like notifications, like, hey, your enrollment paperwork is due, tomorrow or next week. Please remember to bring it back with you. Kind of making AJ's life easier on that side of things. Any questions there? Nope. Next slide, please. And then I think you want to handle this.
Yeah, so as I alluded to, we do have a significant book of business that is local. We understand the market. We work with the carriers that would be pertinent to the City of Stoughton. So we have listed here a few of the organizations that we thought you might recognize. And then we also wanted to point out that we've had a long-term partnership with the local school district as well. So Stoughton Schools has been a strong partner for over 17 years. And we think there's some unique things that we might be able to do within the community to kind of harness the buying power between the school district and the city to bring some care and bring access to care a little bit easier to employees. We go to the next slide. We wanted to touch on real quick one of the ideas that we brought to both the Personnel Committee and AJ up front that resonated, and that was getting employees better access to care. So I realize this is small, but the slides at the bottom of this page are showing you the difference between the orange line is going to show you individuals who did not have a primary care physician over the last 24 months, and the blue line is going to show you individuals who were seeing a primary care physician. And what that's showing is we see better outcomes in terms of inpatient admissions. We see lower ER visits. We see the average length of stay if somebody does need to go to the hospital is reduced if they're seeing a primary care physician. And we also see that they're less likely to be hospitalized or readmitted to the hospital if they're seeing a primary care physician. So this study spans over 1 million people, so there's about 600,000 people in this study who did not have a primary care physician, and then 400,000 who did, and it's recent. So this data spans from 21 to 22. If we go to the next slide, we'll talk about why that's important. So based on the local organizations that we work with, we have a near-site clinic that is set up in Edgerton. And so we had discussed the opportunity to perhaps give employees the opportunity to seek care at that near-site clinic, with the idea being in the Madison area, there is a shortage of primary care physicians. There is at times a long delay between when you need care and when you can actually get care. And one of the primary ways we've helped our clients overcome that is by setting up near-site clinics. And so in this case, we have a number of local organizations that are already participating. We reached out to the clinic and they verified that the city would be welcome to participate as well. And so when we went back to Quartz, your current health insurance carrier, and had a conversation about where they currently released your renewal and the ideas we had for the future, we were able to get a reduction in the initial renewal that they released. And with that reduction, we also were able to then build in the cost of having the city's employees go to the near-site clinic and come in actually below where that initial renewal was outlined. This will be an enhancement for employees. There's going to be no out-of-pocket costs for them when they decide to go to the clinic. It's staffed by a physician's assistant, so it's not staffed by a physician, but you'd be surprised PAs can do the majority of procedures and tasks that a primary care physician would perform. The other key part of the access to care is there is a tremendous shortage from a behavioral health or mental health standpoint in not just this community, but nationwide. We're looking at 6 to 9 months in order to see somebody in person. We would get free access to Dean Health's health transformation counselors. Those individuals will guarantee that you are able, if you're going through some sort of event, you'll be able to see someone within 24 hours in person. So from a mental health standpoint, our clients have seen tremendous value in that. So just a couple of things that came along with the clinic that I think AJ and the personnel committee last night found value in. If we look at where we're currently at, you'll notice at the bottom of this slide, there is a caveat. Because we are not currently the consultant assigned to the city of Stoughton, the conversations we had with courts could only go so far. They're only willing to recognize one consultant at a time, and so that's where we brought our current situation back to AJ and said, if we were to be appointed as your consultant on a go-forward basis, we feel that there's opportunity to reduce where we're currently at further. So that is who USI is and what we wanted to talk to you about tonight. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, thank you. Is there anything you want to add, Director Gillingham?
I have a show of hands if you all read the memo that I. You have a good understanding. Okay. We do not pay our broker current, nor will we in the future. They are paid for through the insurance companies. So they get a commission or a portion of through those companies. So this is not, that's why I didn't run through finance tonight. There's no cost to the city. The reason I'm making that recommendation to change is exactly what you just heard about, that cutting edge care that we're trying to drive the cost down. We didn't have that with our existing broker the last couple of years. And the proposal that they came forth with was 12 to 17% to start with. We drove it to 9.9, and that's where they pretty much ended. They were able to jump on your coattails and then provide us with 6% because they had done the work and courts had already given that number to USI. So just so you understand, there's no money exchanging hands between the city. It's a partnership that HR needs that additional help and support that we will truly get from Damien. He has a proven track record with us. And since he's left, it's been more workload on us. They also have a marketing department that'll help us with getting all this information out to the employees. I had a conversation with Erica Pickett from the school district just to see what their experience has been. Different gentlemen that are working there with them, but it's still the same company. And she had nothing but positive things to say, not only about the representation and the renewals through USI, but also the near-site clinic that she was talking about. So we'd love to see Stoughton Hospital open up something like that, and possibly down the road they might be able to. But one of the challenges we have right now is when our employees walk in there and it's during the day, sometimes they're getting billed for an ER charge because there's nobody in urgent care, or they're billed inappropriately. And those are things that aren't getting caught through our existing broker. So there's some things there that we know we could be more aggressive with, and some of the forethought that both Damien and Christian have will lead us into hopefully a long-term solution for being able to at least hold our program steady, if not drive costs down, which is unheard of in this market.
All right, thank you. We'll open up for any questions. President, pardon me? Go ahead, Alder Schumacher.
Damien, could you do one real brief description of, like, for anybody that's listening in or on STO, what the brokerage, like, kind of where they sit in there between
Sure.
broker,
Yeah.
insurer, provider?
Yeah, so we are, for lack of a better term, we are the middleman. So we advocate on behalf of our clients. So in this case, the city, and because you don't employ someone directly who has the time or capacity to understand the ins and outs of the insurance marketplace, we help with a number of other things, but our primary cost driver is going to be the health insurance side of things. And so it's our job to understand how they are looking at the risk of your organization, how their actuaries are underwriting your rates from a year-to-year basis, and really hold the carrier accountable. That's what our job is as the consultant, as the broker.
All right, thank you. President Hirsch?
So you said the carrier pays you, or how do you get paid?
Yeah, so currently there's just standard commissions that are built into, and to be quite honest, I don't know what the commissions built into the current program are. Our proposal is to take over as is. So courts has a standard commission percentage that they provide to all groups that are of your size, and we would propose to take over at that same rate.
So in essence, so the carrier pays you, but then those costs are actually probably passed on to us.
Yep,
And so
and-
in actuality, we do pay you.
You
Just a roundabout
you definitely
kinda
you
way.
definitely do pay us. I think AJ's point was we're not proposing you pay us more
Yeah.
than what you're currently paying.
Right.
your
I'm just trying to
consultant.
make sure that
It's our
cost
current
of
agreement.
insurance is included with all the brokers, and that's why things
Yep.
keep going up as well, not only because the cost of,
Well, our contract with those carriers for paying the brokers has not changed. It's
Okay.
the same percentage and has been the same percentage.
And we also do, and I would say it's much more common now, not to complicate things further, but we can't do this immediately because you can't make changes until you have your new plan year. So January 1st would be the first opportunity for this. But we do work with a lot of clients on a fixed retainer. And in that case, the city would pay us. The only downside some organizations, public sector organizations, have with that is then that falls completely on your P&L, whereas right now employees are sharing in a portion of the payment of our services because it's built into your premium.
So
And
we
you-
do not cut a check to any brokers.
I know, but it's just a roundabout way of getting them.
It is.
I mean, it's just, the key thing is whatever we decide to do is, making sure we have the best insurance for our employees and that it's local. If they have to travel like they used to, that's just not going to go over well, I think, for most of our employees.
So to be clear, there's no change to the employees or their coverage with the exception of adding this near-site clinic if they choose to use it.
Okay.
So we're adding additional services to them, but also driving their out-of-pocket costs down should they choose to use that. Everything else within our plan design stays exactly the same. We haven't made a proposal to change our plan design.
Okay.
So out-of-pockets, their pharmacy benefit, all of that stays the same, with the exception if we choose to pass any cost on to the employees. From what we've talked about, we're doing a renewal flat for the employees and potentially having a 6% for the city. So to answer your question and achieve what you're asking for, we're there.
Okay.
The only thing we're doing is
do that.
adding.
I mean, I know you advocate for our employees, but I just want to
No, good question.
re-emphasize that we want the best insurance for our employees, and that when costs go up, that their benefits don't go down.
Correct.
Like their coverage doesn't go down. Or it's
So all
not
we've done
covered.
here is enhanced. The
Okay.
change that's going to occur is more on the HR department's side.
And maybe you guys can
Okay.
talk a little bit about how you're able to do that. I know you talked about it last night at personnel, what your approach is.
Yeah, so what we like to do, and what we did in this case, is the courts in this case will release a renewal calculation to show us how they are coming up with your rates, and they'll do that on an annual basis. We went back, we collected that from AJ, along with some reporting that they were providing, showing us where your utilization was. We went back and talked with our underwriting team, and essentially, as I stated before, we hold the carrier accountable with data. So we go back and we make arguments that are based in the reporting that they're providing to say we either, yes, we rubber stamp and agree with the renewal that you've released and we feel like it's warranted, or we feel like the renewal you released is unfair and it should be coming in at XYZ% and here's why. And we go back and have that conversation. A lot of times, traditionally, the broker-carrier relationship is they come out with a 17% and then the broker will go back to the carrier and say, well, if you come back at 12 or maybe even 10, we won't market it. Is that good enough to end the negotiation? We'd prefer not to operate that way. At times, you might have to in order to get the carriers to act the way you'd like them to, but we'd prefer just to act with the data and facts that we have at our disposal to really hold them accountable, and that's where our process tends to be a little bit different.
So in the past, just so you're aware, our existing broker, we've just played, as they were talking about, that game by saying, okay, we're going to go look at some other carriers. So we've looked at GHC. We've also had Dean on multiple occasions run against courts, and that's been our only negotiating tool. Their book of business is much larger than what Cottingham and Butler have. So again, that gives you more negotiating power than what we have with our current broker.
All right, Alder Lagaki has her virtual hand up. Oh, you gotta unmute.
Get unmute, Jean.
I hate when I do that.
Yeah.
I believe this question is for AJ. And the brokers are welcome to, our contractors are welcome to. What does this mean for all of the changes for our employees? It sounds like any changes would not take effect until January 1 of 2024. And it sounds like their costs will remain at the same or even better and with some better access, but does it mean changes of networks having been in a prior network before, and are there going to be open panels and access to primary care physicians if that is involved?
Okay, so as I said before, for the employees, this is completely transparent. There's no change for them, with the exception of expanding the near-site clinic as well as the, do you call it telemed? Your telemed. So they're going to have additional resources. In regards to cost, you guys will hear this tomorrow night when we're at the COW meeting, but it is for the employees cost neutral. For the city, we're looking at a 6% renewal. So we've driven that down from 12 to 17 to 9.9 and now to 6%. So in regards to services, there's no change for the employees other than they'll have that expanded network through our addition of the near-site clinic. For HR, we're going to have better resources to help with the questions that employees may have, compliance, and the other things that USI offers to us. So to an employee, they don't know who our broker typically is. Here we hope to be able to have the employee have that phone number that if they have a billing issue, that they can call there. And that's where we were talking about the HIPAA perspective. Does that answer your questions?
Yeah, so thank you, AJ. That I think I heard you say that, so if they have a provider, that it's not only Dean,
Well,
that they wouldn't have to change primary care doctors?
No. We're not a Dean carrier. We have Quartz as our carrier. We don't have multi-choice there unless they choose the point of service. But I have one person that does that. So we insure through Quartz.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think the AJ is that they mentioned Dean with
That's
respect
through the
to
near
the
site
mental
clinic.
health.
That's the referrals out through new site.
Okay.
We can't just go into a Dean plan and utilize what we have as the rich benefit through Quartz.
Right, so I think that's where Jean may have.
Okay.
Flipped the
And
carrier.
I
Yep.
had kind of, you talked about courts and then they talked about Dean with the
Yep.
mental health and how is that all gonna work?
Yeah, if they have a referral out.
Okay.
Director Ellinger has his hand up.
Just one point of clarification, because the employee premium is not increasing by 6%, the city premium is going up a little larger than 6%. I haven't calculated what that is.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions for our guests? I'm hearing none. I think what I'd like to do, as long as they're up there, is just go right into the resolution that's in the packet. Let me pull it up here and share my screen. Thank you. So we do have a resolution in here. This went through personnel last night, and Alderperson Schumacher chaired the meeting. So could you introduce it for us, please?
Yep, I will. R158 of 2023 is a resolution for the approval to change health insurance broker to USI Insurance Services. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Sherlucky.
Nope, it was Mieski.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're looking at them today.
Ventriloquist? Alderperson Majewski. All right. Anything you want to cover, Alderperson Schumacher?
We had a unanimous decision in Personnel Committee to recommend the change to the new broker.
All right. Any last thoughts or questions on this one? I know this kind of might feel like it came out of nowhere, but I know this is something that AJ's been working on for a while. And, you know, we can't really introduce it until we get to a point, I guess. And here we are. So, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, congratulations, and thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you very much. We look forward to working with the city.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, let me get back to our consent agenda here. It's just going to take me a second. Okay, so the next item is our consent agenda, and we do have 3 items in there, and I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Jensen. Is there a second? Second by Wozniak Scanlon. Would anybody like anything acted on separately in the consent agenda? Hearing none. Everyone say hi to Lori in the back. She's our library board person. So thanks for doing that, and thanks for being here. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, look forward to having you on there, Laura. Okay. Next item is new business. So we have a series of bonds, which is related to the presentation we had earlier. And let me just find the first one here. That's going to be... Here we go. And these are all coming from finance. Are you ready, Alderperson Schumacher?
Yeah, you gotta listen to me for a while, so.
Okay.
All right, R-139 of 2023 is a resolution, for the initial resolution authorizing $465,000 general obligation bonds for equipment of the fire department. So moved.
Second.
Second by President Hirsch. Alderperson Schumacher.
We have gone through the specifics for the amount of money that fire department is asking for during the CIP meetings. Just a couple of some of the big items on there were to replace a lot of their radios that they had. Was a big ticket item on that.
Yeah, and for the council members that are new, these are items that were from the 2023 budget, so they're actually approved last year. As we go through these, some of these projects or purchases have already taken place. Normally, we borrow the money earlier in the year. Really, I don't know if it really matters as long as we have the cash to pay the bills when we borrow the money, but we're bringing them tonight. So some of these, for the council members that have been here, probably may or may not remember the specifics, but Alderperson Schumacher and Director Ellinger can certainly give you the specifics if you need to know that as we're approving these. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. The next one is R140. Go ahead,
All right, R-140 of 2023 is a resolution authorizing $50,000 in general obligation bonds for library project. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I think I heard Lagaki, okay. Alderperson Schumacher.
This one, a lot of this one is for the project that they had done, their outdoor project. So a lot of these monies we're going toward that, and they're kind of near completion on that one.
Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that one carries. Next one is R-141.
R-141 of 2023 is a resolution authorizing $980,000 in general obligation bonds for parks and public grounds projects. So moved.
A second? Second by Butler, thank you. Alderperson Schumacher.
I think a big part of this money had been for the Virgin Lakes trails improvements and extensions.
Yep, as well as some park equipment that they're working on
Oh,
at
yeah.
Norris Park.
Yep, Norris
That's a
Park,
big
yeah.
one. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. R-142.
R-142 of 2023 is a resolution authorizing $990,000 in general obligation bonds for sewerage projects. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Hirsch. Any comments, Alder Schumacher?
Lots of various storm sewer projects all around.
Yeah, and for the newer members, we do have a separate fee that we collect for stormwater utility. So it's on the utility bill. And some of the projects use various sources of money. It might be from the stormwater, it might be from the roads, and a lot of times there's just certain portions of a project that we can get into that utilize these funds, because we have to be able to justify it's, stormwater funds. So that's basically what this one is. I don't know, Director Shield, if there's anything to add to that, but I know you're somewhat involved with these.
Yeah, almost every street project has a portion of that project is allocable to the stormwater utility. Storm sewer work being done in Jackson Street or Bickley Court, those aspects of those projects are accounted for as part of this funding.
Okay. Any questions or comments on it? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Where am I at? 143?
R-143 of 2023 is a resolution authorizing $3,820,000 general obligation bonds for street improvement projects. So moved.
Is there a second? Is that Alder Majewski? Alder Schumacher.
This one's a long list of street projects. They add up quick.
Yeah, we have detour signs to prove it.
Yeah.
So these projects weren't reimbursed by the county or the state, so these are our responsibility?
This would be the local portion of those projects.
Okay.
I think there was some LRIP money allocated to some of these projects, so there is some outside assistance on some of our street resurfacing projects. I can't recall if that's actually for this year or not, but this would be the local share only.
Okay, thank
So
you.
the major projects are like Jackson Street, and what were some of the other ones?
Yeah, we did Roby Road, we're doing Felland and Sant, we did Devonshire, so there's a fair amount of street work being completed this year. The whole list here, Olson Court, Kensington Square, those were projects that would have outside funding in years to come. We did receive a grant related to South 4th Street work that'll be upcoming in 2025 from Milwaukee Street to Isham Street. Again, we'll have to bond for our local share, but not the grant share.
Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. 144.
R 144 of 2023 is a resolution directing publication of notice to electors relating to bond issues. So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Jensen. Alderperson Schumacher.
Just a notice out to the electors, the voters, about these bond issues, allowing them either questions, objections.
All right, any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. R 145.
R 145 of 2023 is a resolution authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $6,305,000 general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2023A. So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Jensen. Alderperson Schumacher.
That one is the whole enchilada wrapped all together of what we were just doing.
All right, questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Next item is R, I clicked on the wrong one, R 146. This one came from the Plan Commission.
I can be quiet.
Break time.
Don't go anywhere.
Alderperson Caravello.
This is R 146 of 2023, a resolution approving an amendment to the project plan and boundaries of tax incremental district number 6. And I so move.
Is there a second? Second. Alderman Mayeski. Alderperson Caravello.
And I'm going to let whoever wants to run with this one.
All right, I'll start out and turn it over to David Rodney. So, TIF District number 6 is out off of Glacier Marion Drive, and that's a district that was created when NAFA put a building up there on the corner. Since then, we've had another building for exclusively Roses, and then a series of buildings for the Grosso LLC, which are the kind of the incubator buildings. And then the city still has a 2.5 and a 4-acre lot still available out there for sale. Across the street is where Emmy Roth is going up. That TIF district has basically been underwater since the early days. When NAFA was built, there was an expectation that they were going to put on a couple additions. That never occurred. Since then, they've been purchased by Marquise Metals. So they're going to be building solar panel frames in that building. They already are in the building they purchased across the street from Ortega. So we're hoping that Marquise Metals will eventually put an addition on their building and create more value so we can get our investment dollars back. In the meantime, what we would like to do across the street is Emmy Roth is going up, and we'd like to include Emmy Roth's building into the TIF district so we can start capturing the increment from the building that they're putting up to help balance our finances in the district. And you can see that in the resolution, there's some things in there that are included in the project plan. And these project plans are eligible costs that we can incur or now or later when we create or amend these districts. Districts can only be amended so many times. I forget exactly how many. 4? That's what I thought. Thank you for that. So this would be the first amendment of this TIF district here. Anything I'm missing, Director Ellinger or Director Shield?
No, I think you covered it well.
And I think somewhere in here there's probably a map, but I think you all know where it is. We have a document in here from Ellers. They're helping us out to get through this process. There's a series of public hearings, notices. The council has to approve it. The Joint Review Board has to approve it. The Joint Review Board is made up of a representative from each of the taxing jurisdictions. So it's the city, the school, Madison College, and Dane County. So what happens when we create these districts is there's a large investment made. In this case, it was the city. Sometimes it'll be the developer and what they call a pay-go. And when the district's created, all the property tax that comes in from the new buildings that go up, instead of getting spread out to all the taxing authorities, all that money comes back to the city to pay off that debt or to reimburse the developer for the debt that they incurred to put in the infrastructure, typically. So we have to go through this process and get approval from all those taxing jurisdictions in order to make these things happen, whether it's a new district or amending another. So, and recently we've created a new district out for 51 West. We anticipate other districts being created, possibly, for Stoughton trailers. We're also talking about a new downtown TIF possibilities for some of our Main Street building owners that want to reinvest in their buildings and provide more housing or update their buildings. So these are all good things, but it takes a fair amount of work, and Ellers helps us through this process. We appreciate that. Are there any questions? I know it's kind of a lot, but I try to summarize it as best as I can. No questions. Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Let's see if I can find the next item. It's not what I wanted.
Back to me again, I think.
Is it back to you?
Yeah.
R147?
Yeah,
Are you ready?
sure
Are you
enough,
rested?
kind of.
Okay, let me get it back up on the screen here. Alderperson Schumacher.
R147 of 2023 is a resolution to contract for appraisal services to determine appropriate market rental value for 600 South 4th Street. So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Second by Caravello. Alderperson Schumacher.
Known as the Stoughton Utilities Building. This is to see what the rental value would be for such a building as that lease had expired. Is that correct? That lease expired recently?
Correct.
And the market assessment, market rent analysis would be done by the L.A. Dusterbeck and Associates. $1,800 for that.
All right. Anything you want to add, Director Ellinger?
This is just to satisfy the requirement, as indicated from the attorney from Stoughton Utilities, that we have to make sure the city is charging market value or less in any rent that we charge to the utility.
All right. Any questions or comments on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, I have to click out of this and get into the next one. Next item is R148, Alderperson Schumacher.
R148 of 2023 is a resolution to provide direction to forego continuing collection efforts regarding June 2023 room tax revenues. So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Alderperson Jensen. Alderperson Schumacher.
When we had passed the ordinance in order to raise the room tax rate from 6 to 8%, there was a little bit of hit and miss as far as making that transition from 6 to 8. So all the efforts were made to correct it, but it's a diminishing return on that.
All right, anything you want to add, Director Ellinger?
As was suggested, we've made multiple attempts to try and get the information to collect the right tax. And given the fact that we retain only 20% of the revenue, my city treasurer and myself thought that we probably spent more in our time trying to get the money, and further efforts wouldn't be very fruitful.
Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. R-149, Alderperson Schumacher.
R 149 of 2023 is a resolution to enter into an agreement with Ellers for a pro forma analysis related to 211 South Water Street. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Hirsch. Alderperson Schumacher.
Yep, the 211 South Water Street is the rehabilitation of that building into the rental units. And they were seeking some TIF financing in there, so that's to see what the assets and liabilities are. Ellers will look at that.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, we're gonna do this before we extend our TID district. I mean, there's not a TIF district that is viable at this point, so we can do this before we actually have a viable TID district?
If you see next on the agenda is a resolution asking Ellers to start the process of creating TID number 10, the overlay district for downtown.
No, I know that, but I just didn't know if they could actually do this before that is actually created. I know that's on the agenda.
We can run those concurrently, kind of what we've been doing with Emmy Roth and everything else. We are going to be stressing to this organization, do not make any construction before the TIF is awarded, or TIF is created, because then we can't do a TIF. Excuse me, can't do a TIF award then.
Right, I mean, we have to get a TID district actually created, and then they apply and get approved before they can do the work.
Well, they've applied right now, so we know that they want to do that, and we're running these two things concurrently.
Yeah, we have a TIF application that goes through finance per policy.
Correct.
And then we'd like to have Ellers start working on the financial part of it to understand, whether or not they meet the but-for, and whether or not the it'll cash flow, at least that portion of it. We anticipate if we create the TIF, there's going to be other building owners downtown that are going to want to join in.
I'm not in disagreement with that. I just didn't know that procedure-wise, if they can apply for TIF funding when there's not a TIF TID district. That's where the sequence is.
Well,
I don't know if the law restricts them from doing that or not. I think that's more of a legal thing, or it could be a procedural thing on our part too. It's kind of the chicken and the egg, I guess.
Well, and I guess, yes, the city attorney would be the expert, but, that's, if somebody says, I want to apply for something, we can come back and say there's no money, but we're trying to move everything forward concurrently. There's at least 2 other properties that I'm aware of that I have probably will be submitting TIF applications. So we're trying to get the ball rolling so that we can look everything at once, because we're twiddling our thumbs looking for work in the city, aren't we, Rodney?
But can we approve? We can't really approve TIF financing until we have a TID district.
Right.
That's all I'm trying.
That's absolutely correct. We cannot approve TIF financing without a TIF district being in creation. All we are asking is Ellers to review the application at this point.
Yep. Yep, I'm just wanting to make sure that all the people out there thinking that they're applying for TIF, that we have to get a district first.
Right.
Correct, there is no TIF yet.
It's kind of like Emmy Roth, they've filled out a TIF application, but we just now amended the district, and we're doing some pro forma work for them as well. So it's not unlike that one, that's not a new TIF, that's an amended TIF, so, but certainly, yeah, you get your point, and like Dave said, you know, they can't really start doing the work, because if they do, they risk not being able to meet the but-for clause. So, you know, what they're trying to do is get their ducks in a row, so as soon as January 1st comes, then they can start doing renovation if they're ready to go.
If we're done.
Right.
We have the TID actually.
Right, and that's kind of what we're shooting for, is to try to stay on a timeline. Even if we create the TID afterward, it'll be retroactive, but it's cleaner if we just get through the process now. And, you know, this is kind of a step into that direction. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, I think we have one last item for Ellers tonight. Can you believe that? Somebody wants to go home. R-150 of 2023, Alderperson Schumacher.
R-150 of 2023 is a resolution to enter into an agreement with Ellers to create tax incremental district number 10. So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Caravello. Alderperson Schumacher.
Just what we were talking about with the downtown district, with TIF 4 no longer able to have projects available to it. A new one would need to be created in that downtown district for TIF applications to be viable.
Okay, any questions or comments on that one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Oh, go ahead.
Aye.
Hang on, we have a question.
I do have a question, and I think Daniel did too. It says anticipate requesting reimbursement from developer. That's not part of the contract. I mean, I guess because we don't have a developer yet, unless when they request the TIF money, is that how we get reimbursed for the 17,000?
Correct. We've got to create a developer agreement, which includes negotiation and having the contract between attorneys. So that's why I put, we anticipate it, because we haven't started that process yet.
Okay.
That would be something that this body would approve as well, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Any follow-up or?
No, I
Okay.
just want to make sure we get our money back at some point.
All right. Okay, no further questions. All in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. The next items are all from the Plan Commission. Good night, thank you. So the first one is R-151. Do you want to use your screen, Rodney, or do you want me to put it up? Okay, so R-151 of 2023 is Alderperson Caravello.
Thank you. This is a resolution by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton conditionally approving the preliminary condo plat for Lot 6 at 51 West Development, and I so move.
Is there a second? What was that? Oh, it's so quiet over there. A second by Wozniak Scanlon. Alderperson Caravello.
And this is just to create 20 twin home condominium units or duplexes at this site.
All right, thank you. Director Shield, do you want to elaborate?
Sure. Lot 6 within this, the west side of 51 West is currently under development. It has been approved for the duplex units as identified. The property owner actually wants to convert them so they can sell off the individual units within each building. Lot 6 is shown on the screen now. The condominium plat is shown on the screen at this point. Actually, the westernmost four buildings, I think, are under construction already. Again, it was approved as a duplex allowed location. They just want to be able to sell off the individual units instead of having to rent them out.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this one? Everybody know where it is?
Yeah, so Rodney, if it's a condominium, then they're responsible for that alleyway clearing and all that?
Yeah, the alley, anything on the site would be privately maintained, whether it's through the condo association or the ownership group, would be responsible for that private driveway maintenance responsibilities.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. R152 is the commercial condos, the final plat. Alderperson Carabello.
And this is R152 of 2023, resolution by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton conditionally approving the final condo plat for 839 through 981 North Page Street, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Hirsch. Alderperson Carabello.
And as you previously said, this is to create 6 condominium units out of the structure or strip that is out there, and I believe they intend to sell off the gas station component, and at some point in the there's a vacant space that they are thinking that they will at some point put some sort of commercial structure there.
Anything you want to add, Director Shield?
Yeah, on the screen it lays out the unit areas within the parcel that are planned to be condoized. Unit 839 is the one that's currently vacant. If they were proposing to do any development on it, it would have to come back through the Plan Commission review process, but currently that stands vacant. Unlike the other condominiums that we normally see, this one's not a residential condominium plat. It's related to commercial uses.
All right, questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. R121, Alderperson Carabello.
And this is R120, or wait, no, R153 of 2023.
Number 21.
This is number 23,
Number
or
21.
21 in the agenda.
Right,
You thought you'd fool me with that one, didn't you? A test. This is a resolution by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton conditionally approving the final plat for lots 1, 3, and 4 within the 50 West subdivision, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Wozniak Scanlon. I heard you that time. Alderperson Carabello.
And this is to create 38 twin home lots, which will actually be 19 duplex structures at this site.
All right. Director Shield.
On your screen is actually a locational map. It's the far west side of the 51 West development, lots 1, 2, and 3. These all have street frontage, and unlike the previous lot 6 action where they had to do a condominium, these all are afforded public frontage on each parcel. So included in your plat map is, or within the packet is also the map related to the subdivision plat. The plat is shown. It does create 38 lots. Each of them would be half of a duplex. So the common boundary would be shared down one of the property lines. And that would allow for separate ownership of each of the parcels. For the alders that aren't familiar, we have what's kind of commonly known as a zero lot line allowance within our zoning code, where a shared wall of a duplex could be used as a property line. Through a certified survey map, it allows for a duplex to have separate owners of both halves of the duplex. many years ago that we were one of the first communities in Dane County to actually implement that. It really afforded people a different price point to enter into home ownership. So it's really grown. I think you've seen them come before the council routinely. We also think it's an attractive opportunity to have ownership instead of some rentals, all of these being rentals. Certainly there's a rental market for them as well, but this is a strong ownership market for our community right now.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. R-154, Alderperson Caravello.
And this is approving a conditional use permit for an indoor commercial entertainment use lounge and restaurant at 210 South Water Street, Stoughton, Wisconsin, and I so move.
Is there a second? Second by Wozniak Scanlon. Alderperson Caravello.
And this is a request to, for a lounge and restaurant at this site, which previously, if you're familiar with it, was Cully's Bar and Lounge, I guess. One of the main things about this application at Plan Commission, some neighbors were concerned about sound noise traveling from this location since it's out onto the river from their deck, and the applicant was adamant and assured us that that would not be an issue. He was very concerned about that and very concerned about disturbing the neighbors, so hopefully, if approved, that will not become a concern.
And yeah, a couple things. So it's a conditional use. So a conditional use is not our normal legislative approval process. You've heard us talk about that in the past. So you'd have to have, good reason to accept or deny the application. There are some conditions attached. Director Shield, you want to cover them?
Yeah, the Planning Commission did have a solid discussion. The applicant was there and did support the conditions that have been placed into the approval resolution. The two that are very noteworthy: no amplified music allowed indoors or outdoors. In other words, anything electrified. An acoustical guitar is not amplified, but anything that would be is not allowed indoors or outdoors. And likewise, the condition: windows and doors to be closed and no outdoor patrons or activities after 11 p.m. nightly. Those were communicated, I think, robustly throughout the Plan Commission meeting. And I don't think it wasn't an adversarial discussion. It was an informed resident reminded the commission and community about historical issues that had been created at that location, and suggested some conditions, and these are the ones that came out of that discussion in cooperation with the applicant.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
One question. When you say electric music, so they can't play radio or
That's how that's how it was described, and that's how the applicant understood it. It seems like it would be challenging to really believe that you might not ever have that, but the applicant really talked about wanting to create an atmosphere that didn't really provide for that. They talked about a lounge space where they could have conversation and actual quiet time. I'm not trying to incorrectly paraphrase it, but he talked about a really low-key venue where he can have create a unique atmosphere without amplified music. But your point is well taken. We discussed it.
I think his actual words were a relaxed vibe.
There you
I think
go.
was what he was looking for his establishment, whatever that might be.
Any other comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. R-155, 2023, Alderperson Caravello.
And this is approving an extraterritorial jurisdictional land division for property located at 1450 Pleasant Hill Road, Town of Dunkirk, Dane County, Wisconsin, and I so move.
We lost the mayor's mic somewhere in there.
Sorry about that. There's a motion by Caravello and a second by Jensen for R155. Sorry about that. We were getting a little feedback, so I shut my mic off, and I forgot to turn it back on. User error.
And this is a land proposed to separate the existing resident from the agricultural lands at that site.
Anything you want to add, Director Shield?
Just wanted to highlight it's not in our short-term or even our long-term growth boundaries. While it's within our ETJ, it's certainly not an area that's currently planned within our expectation of growth.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 20.
Mayor, point of order.
Yes.
I am sorry, I wasn't recognized back on the Cullies with the entertainment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wasn't recognized, and I just had a quick question, and I don't think you heard my vote on it as a result of that. Just the quick question I had on Cullies was, what is the lodging housing plan there? And I just asked for a review of that, as this appears to be in keeping with what that was, but could we at least have a review of that?
My understanding is the housing upstairs is unchanged. They might have done some work up there. And I think that the tenant there might be living up there, but I don't know the specifics of that. I don't know if you have any more insight, Rodney.
No, there's some rental residential units that are a part of that, and the applicant for the CUP the conditional use application did indicate that he also resides on that property when he's in town. So I think it still would remain as tenant space for living quarters in those areas.
If they were going to change that, would they have to go through a process?
They would not if they're not on the first floor. Residential units are permitted outright without having to go through a conditional use process.
Did that answer your question, Gene?
Thank you. Yes, it does, and I was an aye on that vote.
Okay. Sorry I missed you.
No worries, and thank you.
Yeah, what happens is I see, 6 people on the screen, and sometimes if there's 7 logged in, I don't get to the second page, so sorry about that.
No worries, and thank you.
Okay. Last action item is coming from Public Works, R156, Alderperson Majewski. That's all right. It's on the screen if you can't see it. All right.
Sorry about that. This is Resolution R156, 2023. Where am I at? Acceptance of public improvements made by RHD Properties LLC for 51 West Development Phase 2, Phase 3 of Roby Road Sanitary Sewer Upsizing and Oak Opening Drive improvements. And I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Wozniak Scanlon. Thank you. Alderperson Majewski, I don't know if you were at the meeting.
I was not.
Okay.
But I perhaps figure it out. It's basically saying that they've done the improvements and that they'd like to get
All right.
free
Anything
clear.
you want to add, Director Shield?
That's correct. The improvements for these phases are at a point where we're recommending acceptance of them. You'll note that we are carrying a surety for an amount that would remain not officially accepted. The agreements we have in place in this development allow us to actually carry the stormwater, or require the developer to monitor, maintain, and take care of the stormwater management facilities for up to 3 years. And that's somewhat captured in the letter of credit that would yet remain, the $313,000 that's in the resolution. After 3 years, we then re-inspect the stormwater management facilities to make sure they're functioning as designed, and the native plantings have survived. So there's incentive for them to continue to do so. We carry a letter of credit to help make sure that that happens, but that's why we're able to recommend approval. It also references a staff review letter, which goes into more detail related to the conditional acceptance of those stormwater management areas and official acceptance of the other areas.
Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing
Mayor?
none? Oh,
Mayor?
I see you now.
Thank you, no worries. Can any members of the Public Works Committee tell us a little bit about their discussion and what was their action and vote?
It was,
It was unanimous.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, we didn't get that on there.
The discussion, I'll characterize it, I wasn't a voting member, but the discussion was much like I described here. Staff goes through with our consulting engineers throughout the project to monitor the activity during construction, and upon completion of the improvements, after the lien waivers and all their contractors and suppliers have been paid properly, they make a request to the city to actually accept the public improvements. We've reached that point. We've gone through the iterations of review related to that request, and therefore staff was in a position to make the recommendation as outlined in the resolution.
Yeah, and we'll add the vote on to the resolution. The meeting was the night before the cutoff for the council packet, so we simply just didn't get the vote on here. So thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. By
Second.
Jensen, second by Majewski. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Good night.